Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Community Development and Regulatory Services Committee for today, which is May 3rd. I've been joined by council members Cano, Quincy, Fry, and Reich, which is a quorum of the committee. We have a number of items on the consent agenda. These are items 10 through 14. They include granting business licenses recommended for approval that do not require public hearings. Item number 11 is the rental license dwelling stipulation agreement. Item 12 is the application to the U.S. Department of Labor for their Pathways of Justice Careers Youth Grant. Item 13 is a contract with Hennepin County to receive funds for an industry-specific, geographically targeted job fair. And item 14 is our low-income housing tax credit procedural manual and qualified allocation plan. I'm going to first move items 10 through 13 for approval. Are there any items anyone would like to pull off on that agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of the consent agenda items 10 through 13 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved. On item number 14, I have an amendment that's been emailed out to you as well as in front of you. It has to do with the QAP guidelines, and I'll just read out loud. Under item number 2, I am moving to amend the Minneapolis selection priorities as follows. A tax-exempt 501c3 or 501c4 nonprofit organization whose primary service area is the city of Minneapolis or St. Paul is a material part of the project. If they are the project sponsor or participation as a general sponsor, I'm amending it to say these points awarded because the city of Minneapolis has an assumption that such organizations have a mission that results in perpetual affordability of the units, and these points will not be awarded if a tax-exempt organization or nonprofit organization has been a project sponsor or general partner of a project that has had units convert to market rate without the consent of the city over the past 3 years. Are folks clear on the chair's amendment? Are there any questions about the chair's amendment? Seeing none on the amendment to the QAP, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment is approved on the main motion as directed by staff with my amendment. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We have completed the consent agenda. We'll start with our public hearing agenda. There are 9 items on this agenda for approval this morning, starting with item number 1, which is a land sale at 4640 Portland Avenue South. Ms. Kimball, welcome.
Chair Goodman, members of the committee, 4640 Portland Avenue South is a sale through the Vacant Housing Recycling Program. Policies for the program were established by the City Council on December 11th, 2015. 4640 Portland Avenue South was acquired on November 20th, 2015 from the state of Minnesota for $1 through a negotiated discount with Hennepin County. Staff marketed and reviewed applications received in accordance with the Vacant Housing Recycling Program manual and recommend sale to Wilson Molina for its appraised value of $80,000. The property was constructed in 1923 and is a 2,496 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home that will be rehabilitated as a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, single-family home by the applicant and sold for owner occupancy. The applicant proposes to invest $88,700 to rehabilitate the property. The property has structural concerns, and the applicant has engaged a structural engineer to address the foundation issues. There was 1 application received. Staff attended an April 4th, 2016 Crime and Safety Committee meeting at the request of the Field Regina Northrop Neighborhood Association. They are supportive of Wilson Molina's proposal and request that if Mr. Molina fails to close on the property, that the property be demolished due to the length of time that the property has sat vacant. Mr. Molina was a new developer with the city in 2015 and was recommended to purchase a total of 10 vacant structures that year. He purchased 2 properties in South Minneapolis in May 2015 and recently completed them, and was recommended for purchase of 8 additional vacant structures at the October 13th, 2015 public hearing of this committee. At that committee meeting, there was a request from Chair Goodman for Wilson Molina to come back and provide an update about the status of the 10 properties that he purchased from the city in 2015. Staff has provided a report and attached it to this request for council action, and Mr. Molina is also here to speak to progress on all 10 of the properties. In general, I can say staff is very happy with the progress that's been made on all 10 of the projects. I can show for the two that I think it's going to work. There we go. For the two that are completed, these are images from the MLS that just show the quality of work that Mr. Molina has achieved. And to give a brief sense, many of these properties were in similar condition to the ones that are currently in the process of being rehabilitated. These are typically total gut rehabs that Mr. Molina is undertaking. I'll take any questions at this time.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 1? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on 4640 Portland Avenue South, a sale to Wilson Molina. Mr. Molina. Congratulations. I came out to see one of your houses. Unfortunately, it was not open when it was supposed to be open. It looked beautiful from the outside. So yeah, come on up. Come on up.
I'm Wilson Molina. I live at 3708 Portland Avenue South, and I want to thank you for approving the sale of 4640.
And did you just want, I mean, you've done a great job, and I've seen for my own self the projects you've worked on. Do you want to just talk a little bit about your experience working on these houses?
Yes, I mean, it's been a long, but good experience, and we learned a lot of things with this program, and we hope to do the same thing in North Minneapolis. So we're on track, and I think we should have 3 or 4 completed by July and have them for sale.
Well, thank you so much for the good work you're doing.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move this item forward.
Approval of item number 1 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. On to item number 2. Ms. Kimball.
Chair Goodman, members of the committee, 2548 12th Avenue South is also a sale through the Vacant Housing Recycling Program. Policies were established by the City Council on December 11th, 2015. 2548 12th Avenue South was acquired on October 23rd, 2015 from the state of Minnesota as tax forfeited land for its appraised value of $30,000. Staff marketed and reviewed applications received in accordance with the manual, and we recommend sale to Charles Browning for the appraised value of $30,000. If Charles Browning fails to close, then we recommend sale to Wilson Molina, again for the appraised value of $30,000. The property was constructed in 1923 and is a 3,098 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home. Charles Browning intends to rehabilitate the property as a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home by investing $151,300 in its construction. His proposal includes construction of a new 2-car garage and historic renovation of the original property details. Charles Browning intends to sell the property for owner occupancy. Wilson Molina intends to rehabilitate the property as a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, single-family home by investing $99,400 in construction. Wilson Molina also intends to sell the property for owner occupancy. Mr. Browning is recommended as the purchaser because the scope of work and rehab investment proposed by Mr. Browning is more extensive than Mr. Molina. A total of 4 applications were received. The remaining 2 applicants, Daniel Fernandez and Julie Larson, are not recommended because of one or more of the following reasons. Their extent of rehab was less significant than the recommended purchaser. Insufficient financing was demonstrated. The scope of work was not sufficient to meet the Vacant Housing Recycling Program standards, or there was a less experienced development team. The Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association provided comments on April 27th, indicating support of Charles Browning's proposal. Charles Browning and Wilson Molina are both here today and available to answer questions from the committee. I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 2? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 2, which is a land sale of 2548 12th Avenue South to Charles Browning. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Julie Larson. I'm one of the applicants that proposed to rehabilitate this property as a homeowner, not as an investor. I have lived in the Phillips neighborhood before, a couple of times as a renter. I have previously lived in a 100-year-old plus house, which I lived in for 30 years. there was no system that I did not work on, either personally or oversaw the people who did provide the work for me. When I first undertook this process, it was almost a year ago. I started speaking with Roxanne about how to go about this process, figuring that this might be the best opportunity for myself to reinvest the little bit of equity I did manage to get out of my house into another home. My budget is small. I'm a low-income person, but I see great potential in this house. It can certainly be added on to. There's no question about that. But as it stands right now, I would invest the money that I have, which is $50,000. There's an $8,500 grant, or not a grant, but a low-interest loan available from the neighborhood to help flush out some more of the money that I would need. In the application literature, there is some language that suggests that CPED may be asked or may help with the funding problems that may arise. And I have asked directly that question, and I've gotten very little response from their office. Most recently, I spoke with Alfred Port and suggested to him that if the city could defer the purchase price of the property until such time as the project is completed, a year from now, presumably, that I would have the money that I need going in to rehabilitate it. As a low-income person, I have learned how to shop like crazy. I know where to find things at a less price than is usually ordinarily available at retail. My favorite price is free, and I have currently a garage I'm renting to store building materials, 2-bys, windows, doors, etc. I would encourage the committee to reconsider this, since I am the only, as far as I know, the only prospective homeowner that is applying for this property. And with the city's help, a deferred purchase price, I can make it happen. I've been a professional painter for 22 years, self-employed since 1996. I have many clients who are very thrilled with my work. I left a house this morning from some people that I've been working with for over 15 years, talking to them about how to fix their windows. I had a really good letter all set up, and the computer at the library just ate it. So unfortunately, I have nothing of this in print to give to you. I am serious about this proposal. This program is the only way a prospective homeowner with my financial capability is able to get into another homeowning situation. Given the level of upfront money that's required, the amount of rehab, I have an excellent general contractor who was recommended by the PPL, their first recommendation. And he has told me, having looked at the numbers, that I have more going in than most people he's seen. I have done my homework.
Perhaps you could just wrap up here.
Pardon me?
Could you just wrap up?
Yes, I would appreciate you reconsidering this situation.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Charles Browning, and thanks for the recommendation. I'm definitely out of my element here off a job site, so I'm a little nervous, but having restored approximately 6 code compliance and condemned duplexes in Minneapolis, I'm very, very confident and can assure everyone in the neighborhood that my team and I would do a very good job and have this thing market ready in the next 3 to 4 months would be the intention. And again, I appreciate and am thankful for the recommendation.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Oh, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Bryant. I'm with Charles Browning. I will be the realtor of the project, but I also am a neighbor that lives at 2524 11th Avenue South. I've done about 6 or 7 code compliance projects as well. So I know what's involved in these renovations. There's quite an extensive code compliance list in this particular project. So we require extensive amount of work, extensive amount of know-how, and I think that from my perspective, I've had great trust and great confidence in Charles Browning and his ability to get the job done. So I strongly support him and hope that you, City Council, will do so as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Kano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this has become a point of attention in my ward. And it's been a hard one to sort of grapple with, just trying to reconstruct the history of this program and how we're changing it and updating it. And I've been thankful for the city staff who have been working on this issue for many months, and in the program in general, not just this particular lot. So I'm not going to be able to vote for this issue today, just because there's a lot of questions that I have around process and community engagement with the neighborhood association and so forth. I'm not also going to lobby anybody very hard on this issue because I understand the timing didn't allow us to really talk about this, and because this item was already published as a public hearing, we couldn't really delay it. So I do want to make some statements about the things that I expect from this program moving forward. I understand that the recommendation right now is to sell to Mr. Browning. Some of the neighborhood concerns related to how is the city supporting Minneapolis residents to be able to move into homeownership opportunities, like Julie mentioned, and how are we as a city meeting our racial equity goals by trying to support small local entrepreneurs of color like Wilson Molina in this process. And so right now we're not choosing either of those options. We're going with a different option here, and it's my understanding that the program has a few slated perhaps changes to the way that we evaluate the applications based on some of those measurements that I just highlighted. So to be clear, I think that this program should be elevating people of color to move into homeownership opportunities, because we do have one of the nation's worst racial disparities when it comes to homeownership, and also supporting local Minneapolis residents. There have been questions that I would like to explore more with the city staff around how does this program deal with the issue of gentrification when a property in the Phillips neighborhood, which, as you know, doesn't really have that many expensive homes, this program is able to sell a home for $30,000, and then the home gets sold again for maybe $250,000, which is more the price range you would see in the Seward neighborhood, not in the Phillips neighborhoods. So there's a question about, how much money are the developers making on these projects? Are we making homeownership inaccessible to our community members through this? What does it mean for the types of metrics that we use to allocate and award these lots to community members and to interested investors? And then also, how do we create space for the type of conversation that Julie brought up today, in that maybe her application is not the strongest when it comes to financial proposals, but it's certainly the type of situation we want to be able to help and support, because homeownership is definitely a big jump for some of our community members, and I can relate to that story. So those are just some questions I want to put out there for us as a committee and as the Housing Division of CPED to think about long term. I understand that today we're in a particular situation with a specific staff recommendation that has shifted over time, and I'm referring more to the program of how this has been put together. We used to have an old process that was active last year. Now we have a new process that has been adopted by the council, and that process is supposed to be better. And from the conversations I've had with Roxanne, I believe that it will even get better as we try to adopt more of these racial equity values and codify them into our metric system, as well as local preference issues. So, so today I just don't feel comfortable voting for this item, just because I know how it's had an impact on my ward residents, and just wanted to say where I'm coming from.
Further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll move the staff recommendation under the current criteria, which these 4 projects were judged under. The amount of investment and the connection to code compliance are top priorities. And we don't have anything in our policy that states owner occupants get preference, although in this case it sounds like it's going to be owner occupied, as are all of Mr. Molina's properties actually. And we don't have any ability to require home ownership, and we don't have any process that simply says we get to pick Minneapolis residents over people who are not Minneapolis residents. That's just not part of the process. The biggest issue, I think, is that we have 800 vacant homes and lots in the city, and getting them into owners who will rehab them and have them occupied, ideally by homeowners, is a top priority to many neighborhoods, perhaps not all. But in this situation, having a vacant boarded property next to your house is the biggest issue. And having someone maintain it, rehab it, or put money into it is a good thing for most of the residents. And it might not be for everyone, and I'm certainly open to Councilmember Cano looking at ways to change it, but as of right now, that's the process that these 4 applicants went through, and there are still 800 more vacant homes and lots that anyone in the room is welcome to address staff to find out what else might be available. So further comments or questions on the staff recommendation? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
That item is adopted. We'll move on to item number 3. Mr. Curtis, welcome.
Before you is a request for up to $25 million in 501c3 tax-exempt revenue bonds for the Hiawatha Affiliated Building Corporation. The purpose of the bonds is to acquire 3 of the 4 sites that Hiawatha Academy currently occupies. The 3810 East 56th, 1611 East 46th, and 4640 17th Avenue South. The 4th facility is at 3810 or 3800 Pleasant Avenue. They will remain a tenant in that building. They currently serve over 1,000 students, predominantly low-income communities, focused on closing the achievement gap. The seller is the Charter School Development Corporation, which is a national organization. They also have 156 full-time employees, and they will add 22 full-time employees with this purchase of the facility that they will now be able to occupy and have a little more control over.
Are there any questions for Mr. Curtis on his report? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open up the public hearing on item number 3, which is a bond issuance for Hiawatha Affiliated Building Corporation and Hiawatha Academies. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of this item and the related resolutions in the issuance of the bond sales.
Further comments or questions on Councilmember Quincy's motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 4. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have an application by Tuttle Incorporated doing business as LC's Bowling Center at 729 Marshall Street Northeast, and they are seeking a permanent expansion of premises for a sidewalk cafe. The sidewalk cafe will have seating for 32 persons. It will be located on the Marshall Street side of their building. The design of this sidewalk cafe has been approved by the Minneapolis Public Works Transportation Division. It meets all of those requirements. A public hearing is required for this expansion. We notified all residents and property owners within 300 feet. We also notified the St. Anthony Neighborhood Association and the Northeast Minneapolis River District. We received 1 response from that mailing, and that was in support of the application. Staff's recommendation is to recommend approval The Tuttle family operates several dining and entertainment centers in Minneapolis, and they do it extremely well and very responsibly. Staff's recommendation is that you approve the application.
Are there questions for staff on item number 4? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 4, which is an expansion of premise for LC's Bowling Center. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. LC's for quite a long time now has been an institution in the 3rd Ward and specifically in the St. Anthony West neighborhood. They've contributed greatly to both community as well as being an extraordinary business. And activating Marshall, especially along that particular corridor at that particular intersection with Plymouth, I think would be a wonderful addition. So I'm very supportive of the expansion in the Sidewalk Cafe, and I will happily move forward the staff recommendations. Thank you for your contributions to the community.
Further comments or questions on Councilmember Fry's motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 5. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application by the Pinku Restaurant Group LLC. They are doing business as Pinku Japanese Street Food Restaurant at 20 University Northeast. This is a new business, a new restaurant seeking an on-sale wine and strong beer license, Class E. The Class E does not allow live entertainment. This is located in the Nicollet Island East Bank neighborhood in Ward 3. They will have seating for 32 patrons inside, and they will have no exterior seating on a patio or sidewalk cafe. Hours of operation will be till 10 p.m. daily. The Pinku Japanese Street Food will offer a variety of authentic dishes made with fresh seafood and vegetables, and their menu will be available throughout all hours of their operation. A public hearing is required for this new license, and we notified all residents and property owners within 600 feet. We also notified the Nicollet Island East Bank Neighborhood Association and the Northeast Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce. We received 3 responses from that notification process, and all are in support. I believe this application meets all of our requirements. The staff's recommendation is that you approve it.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 5? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 5, which is a new business license for Pinku Japanese Street Food. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm really excited about this new business for multiple different reasons. First, specifically in the Nicollet Island East Bank neighborhood, as well as some areas of North Loop, we've taken great efforts to reduce the square footage of a lot of these small locally owned businesses and the units in which they're held. And what this does, one, is it prevents a lot of the conglomerates to set up their boilerplate, but 2, it allows for it's small enough so that small local businesses can pay rent. In this particular instance, it is a smaller square footage. However, they've got a lot of activity and flavor packed into a very small footprint. Secondly, I'm really proud of it because, one, they've been substantially, both John and X have been substantially involved in the community from the very beginning. They've been to I don't know how many neighborhood associations meeting. They even attend my Wake Up with Jacob. So they are involved to the nth degree. They're employing people who are on the spectrum. They've taken efforts to employ people of color and are really a great partner in the neighborhood. So thank you. I've happily moved this item forward.
On Councilmember Fry's motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 6, Taqueria El Chilo.
Madam Chair, we have an application by Don Chilo Restaurant Incorporated, doing business as Taqueria El Chilo, number 3, and they are located at 311-13 East Lake Street. They are seeking a new on-sale wine and strong beer license, Class E. They currently operate with a plain restaurant license at this time. They have seating for 32 patrons on the inside, and they do not have exterior seating at this time. They tend to be open till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and until 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. Food service will be available all hours that they are open. The owner is Pedro Fuentes Clavel, and he will be the manager of the premises. He has many years of experience in this industry, and he currently operates the Taqueria El Chilo at the current address, and he has operated since there since December of 2015. He also operates Don Chilo Restaurant at 417 East Lake and has been there since 2005. And the menu will consist of authentic Mexican food. Public hearing is required. Residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises were notified of this application. The Central Area Neighborhood Development Organization and the Lake Street Council were also notified of this public hearing today. We received one response. It was opposed to the application based on traffic, parking, and opposition to alcohol service in general. This application seems to meet all of our requirements, and staff's recommendation is that it be approved.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 6? This would be for the, we'll call on you for the public hearing. Seeing no questions, we'll open the public hearing on item number 6, which is a new license for Taqueria El Chilo. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Yasin, and the address 3015 2nd Avenue South, Minneapolis. As we heard about the applicant's info, as we all are aware of the selling alcohol and other product that also impact the violence crime in the neighborhood. For instance, the issue now we know that is the crime is high today, but adding additional to the selling alcohol and privilege, that could also impact the neighborhood as well as the when we look at the homicide, for instance, the rape, the assault, the robbery has been high, where the alcohol has been selling. When you look the unemployment, that neighborhood still is high. So we looked at the research that the other city in the United States has been dealing this issue. For instance, if you look in New Jersey and LA, where the research has been done, where the alcohol has been serving or the bars, is about 65% higher than the other area that non-alcohol products sell. When we look the youth that in the area, specific where we provide educational youth, over 50, 60 high school kids during weekends as well. We worry about the impact that could also ended up in that area. We heard about a lot of comments to the neighborhood. This issue could be higher than what we thought. Overall, what city can be powerful to reduce these violence could be making rules, those minimum distance between alcohol outlets, limit a new license for the areas that already had close together, not issuing a new license when particular location goes out of business, for instance. And
sir, could you wrap up your comments and try to keep them to this issue, this specific license?
Yeah.
So 30 seconds.
30, thank you. So the bottom line is that we worry about we might have some high crime, and the violence could go higher than what we have today. So we're asking not to issue this license due to the situation that we know currently. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Representative, and thanks for the job that you have the city of Minneapolis. I am a member of the community that live in the area, and
Well, what is your name and what is your address?
I'm sorry. My name is Abdisalan Abdullah. You need my address?
Yes, sir.
I do live 35 and 3rd, but also I am a member of the community, central community neighborhood, and I came here to raise the concern about the especially minority community that live in the area. We have a center that called Urban Ventures Youth, where youth attends. Colin Powell Leadership Center. We have the center that just talked. We have Green Central Park, which is very close to the area. And we already struggle the issue of gangs, prostitution, and the Lake Street had a lot of work needs to be done.